Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to talk today a little bit about the bring your own device and crowdsourced mobile data collection in higher ed. So I'm going to start with some broad overview of the topic and then get into some details of things that we're doing here at UCLA. Okay, let's see. I have to switch down here. I got it. Okay, so what we're going to do a little bit later in the session, if anybody wants to do it, they're welcome to. What you could do is download the Ohmage client, and we have some surveys there and some logins that I can explain to you. It's actually mimicking a presentation I did at EDUCAUSE this past fall, and if you feel like participating, you can do that. So this is just telling you to get the app if you like. If you like to try it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about mobility. We're going to talk about 4 different categories of the types of data collection people are doing. We're going to talk also about, or go through the experience of doing some collection as a case study of our own, and then think through what some folks are doing in the field. Okay, so mobile devices in the classroom. The majority of faculty are saying that they find some value in students using them. Some are still banning the use, but the idea that it can be used as a tool for learning is starting to catch on. Roughly 86% of students own a device and 90% have a laptop. So many faculty think that they can be more effective if they were able to do deeper integration of these types of activities into their curriculum. So if you look at their sort of markers here on this, this scale, the slide, you can see that lecture capture is, sort of extremely valued, ebooks and text, things like simulations and games, sort of right there as well. So it's an interesting scenario of what people think are interesting, but of course content and collaboration tools are also popular. And then looking at social media, not less than half are using it, but it's still sort of gaining in its interest. Okay. So students are coming to campus with the devices, and they want to use them. They're comfortable with them. And pretty much everywhere you go, this is what you see. All over campus, students looking at their devices. And hopefully not bumping into things. But anyway, mobile learning. So this is the Gartner curve showing a highlight of where mobile learning is on the, what they call the path to sort of productivity, or the plateau of productivity. So when technology first hits the field, it's sort of down in the early stages of expectation and driving up towards the peak, and then it goes into the trough of disillusionment. I like saying because it sounds really funny. But and then whether or not it's still a viable platform or sort of tool is sort of determined by whether it makes it up to this productivity sort of plateau. So right now, if you look at mobile learning smartphones, you can see that it's sort of on its way up. If you look at mobile learning, what those are is sort of like low, I forget what it is, low resolution. Basically, these are like the low-end devices that are specially made for students to use, and they're basically at the same price point as a low-end Android today, so that's why they're basically obsolete. There's still people using them, and I think especially if you think about third world, there's still value because things like ability to maintain power, which is a battery operated, something that's less battery intensive and so on. But eventually the Androids, the low-end devices are taking over. So that's why the smartphones are becoming the tool of choice. Okay, so we're going to talk about 4 different types of mobile data collection. There's passive, there's public, there's crowdsourced, and then there's private. So, my little arrow. Okay, So passive data collection is this idea of collecting data on your phone, like whether you're wearing a pedometer. I have a Fitbit. It tracks, how much how many steps I've taken in a day, and it does actually remind me if I get close to the amount of steps. It's like, oh, you're almost there. But it's mainly meant to just be sort of algorithmic and a measure of passively measuring activity. So this is a view of an app that was built by the SENS group here at UCLA called Mobility. It's an Android app. There is no version of it on the iOS store. But this shows the owner of the app, or the person who had this device, day when they ran a marathon. So she has this big chunk of like 4+ hours of the run. You can see that yellow chunk in the middle of this bar, and then there's the blue marks when she was driving, and then the red. Not surprising that after that much running, she sat quite still, and I guess that might be when she went to sleep, like early on that night. Not sure. Well, anyway, so that's what mobility is, and that's passive. So passive data stream is really talking about the accelerometer, GPS data that you can just get in the background while you're moving around. There is also other types, like if you think about sometimes in a wellness environment, you might track how interactive is the person being. Are they sending a lot of text? Are they sending a lot of messages? That kind of thing. So cell phone usage, messaging, SMS usage. You could also do things like if you are in a setting and you were trying to measure sort of mental wellness, you might take a tone, like a voice tone, and see whether it was something that people were in a happy mood, or so there's various things where people are doing sort of passive data streams to look at trends and such and doing research. Okay, so public data collection, switching gears, we're talking about things that have been going on for quite some time. If you look at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, there's oftentimes leveraging of those public data streams to gather data around specific events. So one of the such events was the Tohoku earthquake that happened in Japan, and we actually had folks from our sandbox team, the ETC team down in Math Science Center, pull together data on a volunteer basis with a partner in a partnership with others to collect the data from Twitter that was being posted, and people who were saying things about who needed things, who was like looking for information or trying to find help. So effectively, there's a certain amount of time that you have to pull these data streams and then put them in a database and then display them in a visualization. So public data collection is something that from a project standpoint is happening, but also it tends to happen when it's a relief effort. So then there's the idea of crowdsourced social media dashboard. So this is at Chapman University. And so what they've done is built a really nice sort of portal viewing tool that lets you see a variety of things that are happening through all kinds of different organizations across their campus, and pulling it together so that there's a dashboard to see the plethora of things that might be happening at any one time. So the URL is down here at the bottom. If you're interested, take a look at social.chapman.edu, and it's just kind of a nice way of pulling together all the social media streams in an organization. Okay, so for those that have the app, here's what we're going to do. To go get the Ohmage app. And wait, where did I take those out? Oh, darn it. I actually took out the app thing. So I'm going to get it myself, and I'll tell you, let's see how to do it. What we did was he said that the login was actually using your name and your birthday. And actually, I'm realizing I cut it out because of time. So what I'm going to do is come back to this if we have time at the end. I have to get through the rest of my slides. And if we have time, we'll come back and do this experience. And if not, just go ahead and email me, and I will send you a login and password. You can do it later. So really, this was what I did was I came up with a little survey where you could use a mobile app, and it was really a simple survey that you can see people having done it in a variety of magazines, where you kind of ask them, what's in your bag? and sometimes it's a celebrity, like what do they carry around with them or whatever. I guess there's the novelty of them, but it collects things like, it asks questions of like what might you be carrying in your briefcase or what have you. So anyway, I will send that around if anybody's interested in doing it, but I do agree that with my earlier decision that we probably don't have time because this was a half an hour presentation. Okay, so we'll come back to that if there's time, but otherwise have to move on. Okay, so a little bit of further thought on what crowdsourced mobile data collection is. I don't how many people have used Waze. I have 2 folks here. I don't know if there's any people raising their hand on the chat over there. So I have 2 for 2 have used Waze over here. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but since Google bought them, they're definitely using the streams from Waze into highlighting accidents into Google Maps today. Because it's very quick to tell you to reroute you a variety of different ways, and I'm sure it's based on the data they're pulling out of Waze.
Get street traffic, which is unique because previously all you could get was Caltrans information, which is just highways.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty tricky, which means they're really doing some crazy amount of computing.
They're pulling from Waze. It's definitely what it is. And so this is what Waze looks like for anyone who hasn't used it. I love the little ninja guy. But I guess the more you use it, the more customization sort of points. They've gamified, sort of the whole driving home scenario. And the more you make posts to help other people track progress on the commute, the more you get sort of accolades in the platform. And so you get this customization kind of thing, which is really cute. But basically, I don't know how many people know, but this came out of the SENS lab, and it was bought by Google for $1 billion. I know, yeah, and UCLA unfortunately did not get money there. It was just a startup. Anyway, but that really did come out of Deborah's lab. Okay, so then there's another crowdsourcing app called What's Invasive, and this is an interesting one because it's trying to track species of plants as they are sort of taking over non-indigenous areas. So there's something called, what is it called? There's something in the South called, I think it's called, begins with an S. I thought it was scud or something, but I'm not going to it right now. There's a couple of these types of plants, and they're really sort of haphazardly growing and taking over the natural forest in some of these areas. And so the idea with this app is that at a trailhead, you would download the app, and then you would get some understanding from a poster or something that the types of things that they were looking for, and then you would take pictures and record them as you would walk through the area. So, and they are park specific. So that this was originally funded by the National sort of Park Association and so on. So another view of what that data looks like, that it shows you here where they are collecting things. Okay, maybe I can find that one that I was looking for. No, because these are all on the north. So this is looking for most of these. There's something that's very prevalent in the South. Anyway, so there's a lot of them in Southern California, if you go there, and there's a lot of them over here on the East Coast where people are looking for those types of plants. Okay, another piece of crowdsourcing or another activity. This is actually a student study here at UCLA trying to look at recycling needs across the campus by taking pictures of what was in the trash all over the campus and trying to spot, well, all right, there seems to be a lot of plastic that gets deposited into this waste bin. There's a lot of glass, or whether they're looking for, just regular food waste or paper. So they try to put around the bins all over campus that would be informed. So, when you're over in the dining hall, you definitely need the regular trash as well as the other types of receptacles. Okay. So now jumping into private data collection is really participatory sensing, and that's more the research term around that. But the idea is that this is letting people pull together special pockets of data around time, place, context, and with application to whether it's environment, health, transportation. I have a question?
Someone said Kudzo.
Kudzo, you're right. That's the one. Thank you. That's the type of plant that's super invasive in the South. So Kudzo is this strange thing that grows over the trees. It's really not attractive. So thank you. Okay, so What a private mobile data collection might mean in instruction, and that is sort of a field exercise. You give students something to think about and something they want to answer, have them form a hypothesis, and then create a collection exercise that they can then go try to prove, true or not true by collecting the answers in the field. So there's this platform that we use for mobile data collection on campus, and it's also being used in LUSD called Ohmage. And that's what I was talking about earlier, to go and get these apps. And there are a number of free, not just free, but available public exercises that you can look at. And then what's interesting is there's also a dashboard that has a bunch of analysis tools, and that's at the URL, which is pilot. I realize the URL is not here. pilots.mobilizelabs.org. And so that is our pilot dashboard environment. And if you go and register and sign in, the place you have to create an account is on that URL. So pilots.mobilizelabs.org. Okay, so I'll talk about that. But some of the newer tools we have is if you are a creator of these surveys, you would be able to use this authoring GUI. And so one of the things we've done, the first time we've done it in a classroom setting where students had the ability to create their own basically field exercises, was this past quarter. It was used in a statistics course, and they had about 95 different students, but there was only a select few that sort of decided they wanted to try their own projects. But they actually had about 8 or 9 surveys that they worked with over the quarter, and I would say roughly 6 of them were student-generated. And my understanding is that for their final sort of assessment, they're writing up a report, regarding the experience of using the tool. So I should have more information on how they found working with the tool at that point. So this is what you see when you go to pilot.mobilize.org. So this shows you Ohmage, and it shows you the, you have the web front end. This is where you are basically managing your basic web viewing of the data, the raw data. You can also take the survey on the browser, and that has worked out really well using the tool in LUSD, because a fair number of those students do not have devices and have been able to sort of do their work with the tool in the lab. So that's something to think about. The authoring part is only recently available, and it used to just be that you had to define your survey in XML, which not so easy for a lot of folks if you're not a computer science student. Okay, so then there's also an interactive dashboard, because I'd like to get to the showing a live demo with this dashboard. It was originally built for a specific study, and then there was about 6 to 8 months of a grad student's development on the Mobilizing CF project, where they worked together with some other folks to make it work with other surveys, and so that's kind of neat. And then there's also a plot app, which is new to the dashboard this year, and then a campaign monitor so you can see what's going on, as well as a wiki. Just the wiki's pretty basic. Okay, so there's these 3 clients, as I talked about. There's an Android app, an iOS app, and then there's also a desktop browser. There actually is a new version of all of these clients coming out, and I hope probably February, but that's still in early testing. Okay, so activity monitoring tool. This basically shows somebody who is teaching a course that, when did my students take the survey, and how's the collection going? How's the data capture going? Then just showing some sample questions. This is what the tool looks like when you're in the middle of the tool, the current version of it. This is what the dashboard looks like. I'm going to try to go show it live. I have 5 minutes at the end. So this is a new, one of the newer tools, a plot app visualization. This is actually real. You can't see their names, of course, because that would be a FERPA violation, but this is their login. This is actual student data that was collected just this quarter. So, and this was a student created campaign called a dinner campaign, where they asked a bunch of questions about what they were doing. Okay, so another course that has used the tool was a UCLA Labor Relations class, and they actually had a very sort of lengthy for this tool, survey with 32 questions, but it was nice to be able to see the data after the fact. So you can see the little dots of where the data was collected and some visualizations here. And then these dials are pretty neat. You click on them, and the data in the view auto filters out. And then finally, there's a gamified wellness case study where we use Ohmage is being used to collect data about what they call brewing breaks, which are really these instant recess breaks, which means if you're in a meeting for longer than, and if anyone's been, if we had time, I'd have us do it, although I've only been here for a half an hour, but I know a lot of people may have been here, so try to stretch your legs between these presentations, I guess, is the message. But so the idea is that they have gamified the idea of getting, some these activity breaks worked into their workday. They had a challenge this past September where they had the patient business services sort of competing against the faculty practice group, and they had different teams. So we had a public dashboard of how what we call a leaderboard, which shows you how people are doing. And because they were made up names, it's nobody's real data, and it's something you can put out there on the web. As you can see, it's like beautiful swimmers. Nobody knows who that is, so it's okay to just show their activity data. And these are just some different graphs that are part of their custom dashboard. So this is data pulled out of Ohmage into a website with custom visualization to show, sort of the specific gamified view of the data. And this was showing, one of the things they figured out was that people don't want to get their picture taken while they're exercising. So if you want to verify who was part of the break, take a picture of your feet. So that's like right there. They had I think there's two people in that break. Just another mention of the Mobilizing CS grant. They have been rolling it out to a significant number of students across LAUSD as it's worked into their curriculum in a variety of different types of subjects. So computer science, math, biology, and they have a new curriculum around introductory data science, which I think has been quite popular. So just something to note. Okay, somebody left the meeting, but anyway. So let me see. Okay, I do have the directions in here. Good. See, I was thinking about that. All right, so if anybody wants to try this, what we did was we have a login and a password. The password is the same for everybody, but if you go ahead and log in with educause-dd, then you can get into the, you'll be logged into a specific course or sort of group on Ohmage that's set up to look at a specific survey. So then if you follow these steps, 3 through 9, the first thing would be to go and get the campaign. I'll explain the different sort of nomenclature of Ohmage. Campaign is really a study or a project or a portfolio of surveys, effectively. So these are the types of surveys that hang together. Let's say you want to study whether somebody is a procrastinator or not with their homework. You might take a survey 3 times a day. So maybe you take a survey in the morning. So what type of studying for finals are you going to do today? And then you might ask them at noon, how many of your finals have you studied? And then you might ask them at midnight, how did it go? So you might have 3 different studies. You might have to ask them, how many times did you go get a coffee? Or things like that, that you might likely have a different type set of questions that you would ask throughout the day and in the experience. So the idea is that the campaign would be study habits for finals or something, and the variety of different surveys would pertain to the sort of what was the plan for the day, check in midday of how the progress is going, and then, at the end of the day, what did you get done, or did you accomplish your goals, kind of thing. It's sort of like you could use that in like a study coach, if you will, something like that. Well, anyway, this particular survey or experience is the one where you go in and take the pictures of what's in your bag. So, and then what's kind of neat is we can go look at the data live to see what people have done. I'm going to go, so here's the URL. So anyone who didn't quite get to the URL to look at the data, here it is. And what I'm going to do, go back. Yep, I can leave that up. All right, Davita's going to do it. Go Davita. You know, it was pretty neat at EDUCAUSE because we streamed that talk as well. And then when we looked at the data later, we have data points in Europe. We had data, a fair number of them in California, but of course we were in Orlando, so most of them are in Orlando, but we had some in the Midwest as well because my co-presenter was from Oakland University, and she had a whole, group of people who were coming to her talk because, just to cheer her on, I guess. But anyway, or perhaps because they thought it was interesting. I crossed my fingers that some of them found it interesting. But anyway, so yeah, we were thinking about how we could do this with logins that would have a decent amount of spread. We thought, oh, birthday. Just use the DD of people's birthday as the login, and then it's generic enough that you have about 30 different logins that would also persist if people want to go and look at the tool later. So you can think of this as a demo account. I'm just going to leave it up because it's kind of easy and simple. And I also told the folks at EDUCAUSE that I would leave it there for them to, if they want to demo it or look at it. Okay, so I have 1 minute left. Any questions? So Dave, are you going to tell me if there's any questions in the back there? You can always email me, so just rrocchio@oit.ucla.edu. I'm told the rrocchio at UCLA is that I haven't quite transitioned to the new Google yet, the Google account for that, for my Bruin Online. So use the oit.ucla.edu, and we are supporting faculty who want to try out using Ohmage in their class. The support's just available, IEI funded, so let me know if you know faculty who want to try it, play with it, do something fun with it in their class. Yeah?
Kind of just one question. Earlier, it was talking how some faculty are apprehensive about adopting the technology because they don't feel comfortable with it.
Uh-huh.
Do they feel that they themselves need training, or they want their instructional technology people to handle it? Repeat the question, please.
Okay, so the question was, do faculty feel that they want to get training to use Ohmage in their classroom, and do they want their instructional technologists to handle it? Let's see. So one of the folks that we've worked with, he actually had me come to the class and do a whole session on Ohmage. So I actually gave a presentation a little more in-depth, a little more detailed about how to formulate the survey. And that was before we had the survey authoring tool, so it was actually a little more complex. So, but I pretty much think he learned it at the same time as the class was learning it, which is fair enough. But I did have 1 or 2 preparatory meetings with him to think about how he wanted to use it in his class. So that is available. We're available to meet with the faculty and the instructional designer who's there to help. So if you don't have an instructional designer, some of the courses only have TAs. So we do, especially when we were only able to do the XML definition of a survey, we really were advising people find CS types to be their TA. But now that's not a barrier anymore. So, so I think both. Then we had one of the faculty members who's very experienced with Ohmage. He's the PI of the LUSD. So then he was using it here. He didn't need really much help at all, just a little bit of roster support, because right now it is not LTI compatible. It has to be, we do have to do some setup. We're looking at making it LTI, and that may be something. If we get enough traction, then we'll probably do that, for the, 15, 16, yeah, 14, 15, yeah. Gosh, it's going so fast. For me, 2020 before we know it. That's all I have for time. Please email me if you have any questions. And rrocchio, I think my name is on the agenda, right? So rrocchio@oit.ucla.edu. Thank you.